No trip to the Hawke's Bay would be complete without a visit to Church Road. And if there is one word that is synonymous with quality and excellence in wine, it's Tom. It's a 3-letter word, it's a small word, but it's a very important one. I am here with Chris, who is the head winemaker for Church Road. Chris, thank you so much for having me here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. But Chris, tell us a little bit about Tom, you know, the legacy, the wine. It's so important, it's so special. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Tom McDonald started here at the winery when he was 14 years old.
Wow.
In the early 1920s. And he turned out to be a fairly entrepreneurial young lad, and by the age of 19 had actually taken over the lease of the winery when the original owner retired.
Amazing.
And so he basically ran the winery. He managed the winery and was the head winemaker here for over 50 years for his entire career.
Wow.
And became very much a pioneer of he was a pioneer of those early days of the formation of a modern quality wine industry in New Zealand. So if you go back to the bad old days, we were making cheap ports and sherries, and some of the old guys in the industry would lament the day that you could make 2 tons of wine out of 1 ton of grapes, because they were pretty much adding 50-50 water, and so there was all sorts of dodgy practices going on. It was not about quality; it was about just making cheap booze. But Tom, as he learnt more about wine, became very, very passionate about the great wines of France, and particularly Bordeaux and Burgundy, which was the centre of the winemaking universe back in those days.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so he I guess as anyone might want to in that situation, he wanted to see if he could do something like that in New Zealand and in Hawke's Bay. And so he was the first to commercially grow Cabernet Sauvignon in Hawke's Bay, planting it was first wine in 1949. And then pioneered Chardonnay in Hawke's Bay as well. So obviously Bordeaux Reds and Chardonnay now 2 of Hawke's Bay's
absolutely
iconic styles.
Hawke's Bay.
So,
yeah, fantastic. Chris, where should we start?
Well, I think we'll start with Tom Chardonnay, since
Excellent.
it's the one white wine in the group.
Never mad about a Chardonnay. Okay. And what take us through what do we smell? And that colour is beautiful.
Yeah, so it's
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, at this level, what we're looking for is something that's really sort of intriguing and not just a simple sort of fruit-driven Chardonnay. And so there's a whole lot of things going on in here. Obviously, very, very good quality fruit to start with, all hand-picked, hand-sorted. It's off a single estate, Tuki Tuki, which is quite a cool site, which is great for Chardonnay. And then we do a whole lot of things that are perhaps would be considered with commercial winemaking a little bit more risky, such as fermenting cloudy juice rather than clarifying the juice first, and using wild yeast, which is where you just let the natural yeast from the vineyard and the
unpredictable.
It's so unpredictable, and so you end up. It is riskier, and sometimes there's barrels that you have to cull. But the reward is that you get a wine that's got so much more character and personality. And so rather than just seeing something that's simple and fruity, here I think you've got a wine that's I always think of this wine as being very, very savoury. There's sort of gunflint and smoke and nuts, and
you definitely get the flint.
It's really and it's a beautiful food wine. It's absolutely a beautiful food wine.
Ooh, give that a try. Oh man, that is outstanding. Outstanding is the word for it. That is so beautiful. It is so complex, isn't it?
It is. It's fruit's not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind. There's all sorts of interesting sort of smoky, nutty, savoury complexity there, and it almost has a faintly sort of savoury, salty, umami-like flavour, very dry flavour on the palate, and which makes it such a great food wine. So it is really Chardonnay. It's quite a unique wine, and
it really is.
So next we've got Syrah. So we once we'd managed to get the Chardonnay through.
Okay.
It
was all go.
It was all go. Yeah. So
anything was possible.
But the Syrah's become in recent years such an important variety for Hawke's Bay. It's really become Hawke's Bay's third signature style of wine, and so Tom, that sort of slotted into the Tom range on the basis that Tom, if we decided that if Tom was still alive and with us today, he would have approved greatly.
I think so. And what are we getting on the nose here?
the great thing about cool climate Syrah is the fragrance. So we're looking for perfume. We're looking for fresh fruit, not the dried fruit that you get in a hot climate. We're looking for and in particular, the thing I love about Syrah is the floral nature. So the violets and the roses and that sort of character. That beautiful floral lift. So that's what we're really trying to achieve. But at the same time, you tread a fine line. So what you're trying to do is still get the fruit ripe enough to build some richness and weight and texture into the wine without going so far that you lose freshness and balance, and if you go too ripe, then you start to lose all that lovely aromatic.
Yeah, it becomes jammy, and that's not what you want either.
That's not what you want. So it's very much sort of walking a line. But,
I imagine.
And in Hawke's Bay, we sort of find in most years we can go past that line if we're not careful. So it's just about sort of trying to find that balance between sort of power and density, and having something that feels sort of satisfying to drink, but not lose the freshness, the fragrance, and the elegance of the wine as well. So
elegance. I love the word. You know, whenever I have a wine and I go, oh wow, that's elegant. For me, it's just such a compliment to feel like it's elegant, because it's just everything sits where it's supposed to sit. The balance is right and nothing's off. You know.
And it leaves your palate feeling fresh as opposed to heavy or cloying.
Oh, let's give it a bit of it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is just amazing. Can you describe the flavours? Apart from happiness.
I always describe the texture as sort of being liquid velvet. It's got a very, very fine tannin structure. You see the Syrahs off there in the best years have a finer textured tannin, that very silky sort of velvety tannin, and they're much more perfumed. They tend to be a lot more floral. Than I find they're a lot more sort of bright fruit and floral character than the Gimlet Gravel Syrahs, which are a little darker and more brooding and not quite so fragrant.
We've got to move on to the original, I suppose.
The original, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So this is the 2014, the latest release of the Tom, the Bordeaux blend, the Merlot, and this is a Merlot Cabernet. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Cabernet dominant. All we're trying to do in any given year is make the very, very best expression of a Bordeaux blend that we can. And what we tend to find in Hawke's Bay is we have Cabernet years and we have Merlot years. So we have years, particularly where we get a warm summer, like this year's got good potential because we've had such a warm summer. That Cabernet will work really, really well, and the wines will be quite high in Cabernet, sort of up to, I think we've gone up to around about 65% Cabernet.
This is 14?
Yep, so this is 14, so it's Merlot dominant.
Okay.
It's about two-thirds, around about two-thirds
Oh,
Merlot.
wow, okay, all right. And what are we getting on this? Oh, wow.
So here, I think compared to Syrah, where you've got all that sort of lovely floral and spice sort of character, on the Bordeaux's, there's still an element of spice, but Syrah, I always think more exotic spice, the dark spices, clove and anise. Whereas here, I'm sort of thinking more of those sort of cool spices like cardamom and cumin and that sort of thing. A little bit of it's that looking for that fragrance of just ripe Cabernet and just ripe Merlot. So not getting past the minty, beany, green spectrum, but not going into generic, just plummy red wine.
Absolutely, and it becomes too much then, you know?
It does,
That's beautiful. Oh, wow. Keep saying wow, but there's no other word for it, you know what I mean? You know, Tom is not a wine that you make every year, obviously. It's only on the best years.
We'll only make it if we think we can do it justice. So in 16 we've made a Chardonnay and a Merlot. It's pretty much a straight Merlot in 16 for the first time ever.
Wow, that's interesting.
There's a little bit of Cabernet in there, about 3%. And we didn't make a Syrah at all. And then in 17 we won't make anything. So you can see we just do what we can do. And if it goes out of stock, if it's out of stock for 2 years, so be it. I mean, it's great. Leave them wanting more, sort of thing. Exactly.
So while everyone is out there wanting more, we're going to be drinking more. If you do end up in Hawke's Bay, you absolutely have to come to Church Road, and you most definitely have to do a tasting of some of the exceptional wines. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. I really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers.